Why aren't you playing green for nationals? There are three main engines in green right now for OP05. There's the film engine, in which got some popularity when green purple Dofi was running around. Nami, Brook, and Luffy are still really good cards. It's just the fact that they're easily removed in the Sakazuki meta. We also have Wano Country, which actually has a few pretty cool cards. You have access to the generic, mostly generic Izu. Okiku is still pretty good with Kinemon being able to play at turn 1. Yamato, the 5-drop, is still quite good against yellow. The 4-cost Yamato pretty much answers all the blockers that are meta relevant right now, like the 5-cost Kid and Queen. And of course we have the 8-cost Odin, which, you know, is cool, but it is a only KO effect in order to get his max value. You can kind of see where I'm going with this, with both the film and as well as Wano Country, where, you know, pretty much everything that you do, it needs to be on the board in order to get the effect and the maximum value out of it. And because of this, you run into things like 9-drop Kaido, you run into things like Gadatsu on curve, you run into Sakazuki, which removes literally everything that green can play. Of course, we have Supernovas, which we have access to a bunch of cool cards that were mainly relevant in set 2 and 3. That includes the 5-cost Law, the 8-cost Kid, Pump Gibson, and as well as Basil Hawkins. All very cool cards, but again, you need to play them in order to get the value. And we have you know, a pretty decent engine with Don Quixote Pirates, with Sugar, of course, being able to answer Rebecca and other blockers and things like that. 10-cost Kid is still really good in the right circumstance. And of course, we have Birdcage, which technically is really good against most of the card pool of the big three. However, in order to answer both of those questions, what I did was spend some time with Kinemon and see if I can revisit him in OP05. All right, so this is basically where I've landed as of today for Kinemon. And, you know, there's other leaders, right? And this is something I forgot to go over, but there's other leaders like Green Kid that you can kind of, you know, try to test out and see. There's Kuru, which kind of loses to himself. Basically, you know, a leader effect that is catered to the characters on board just means that if your characters are removed, it just sucks. And you know, Isho is really cool. It's just I don't think the right combination of cards are there right now. Arlong is awesome. However, it is a little inconsistent for me. And I don't think it has enough answers to compete in the meta at a higher level, right? And then of course, Dofi, you know, that is Dofi is still good. You know, I think he is just a tier underneath everyone else. He had his time to shine last format with Whitebeard out of the way, and just sort of regulating the control decks. But right now, because there's so much control of the board through Sakazuki, you have to have a pretty good matchup against that. I think he has a pretty good matchup against everything else. I think, you know, against Purple Luffy as well as Enel, maybe even Katakuri. Katakuri is, you know, the same sort of matchup. Nothing has changed. Even if you go the bird cage route, I think nothing has really changed as far as that goes for that matchup in this meta. So that's my thoughts. So those are my thoughts on that. And then of course, Don Quixote Rocinante. I think I don't really have too much to say about this guy. He's nothing too special, unfortunately. Which brings us to Kinemon. The only cool thing that I like about Kinemon is his leader effect, right? Being able to put a turn 1 Raizo down, being able to turn 2, turn 1 Yamato and swing into their little bodies or their blockers or whatever they may be. Being able to have Raizo out the first turn, being able to use Mononosuke in order to see anything else like your Yamato in order to play against Enel. So that way you don't have to worry about triggers and you can play 4 of them. So that way, if they remove it with Gadatsu, you have more coming. Baby 5 just to define your 10 drops against pretty much most matchups. Both of these guys will get rested as soon as they're played, and then Raizo can get that max value before Sakazuki can make you cry for even trying that. And there's a little protection and searchability for this 2-cost blocker, which I used to play Killer. I think you can play 4 of these too, where your opponent's turn, if it gets KO'd, you can trash this character. So that kind of forces Sakazuki players to play Houndblaze or something similar like Borsalino in order to get around this effect. So those are the kind of the ideas and thoughts and the things that and the concepts that I've tried to put through. I think Sugar's cool. She is also searchable, and this is really just the answer to any of the Borsalinos and any of the Rebeccas out there. This is the reason why it's at 4, and the reason why I think it's not too bad. Not too bad. It's basically like these guys are the nuisance of everything. The only downside is that Circa doesn't really do anything for you outside of resting something, which is why you can probably go down to 3 and then put this up to 4 as well. And then we have Yamato. Yamato is just a 6k body that says no to pretty much everything on your opponent's board. But yeah, that is the concept. I dig it. 8 cost Odin is here. It is easily cut because I think it. What's funny about 8 cost Odin is that you play it on curve going first. Turn 3 or when you're on 7 Dawn, right? You get to reduce it with your leader effect. You play it for 7, and by that time, usually a player like an Out, for instance, would have an 8 cost Katakuri out or a 7 cost Mom, etc. Right now, you have answers for that. Now you have things to swing into or swing with, or if they have a Gadatsu, that's an easy, 2 cards out of their hand. And if they don't get rid of this, then you can follow up with the 10 cost Doflamingo, right? Those are kind of the concepts that I've been really trying to do. Is it successful? Kind of. It's an okay deck. I don't think it's something that you have to really worry about going into nationals, and as well as just in general for OP05. But I think it is something to explore, and if it fits your playstyle and you're a better deck builder than me, which is pretty likely, go ahead and try it out. This is usually where I cut to gameplay and kind of show you the turn-by-turn stuff, and unfortunately, I don't really have that much time. I've been preparing all the production stuff for upcoming events, so I don't really have too much time to go through all that. But if I do, or for future videos, if you want to comment below, if you want to see actual gameplay instead of just talking theory, let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you in the next one.